Welcome back. This is Tyrell from the Nosebleeds. Just want to say thank you all for watching and liking and subscribing, whatever you guys are doing to help grow this channel. Last video we did was the NFC South. Today we are moving up north to do the NFC North division. The Bears, Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers, and the Minnesota Vikings. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We're starting off with the Bears. Extended TJ Edwards to a 3-year deal. They also extended Kyler Gordon, defensive back, to a 3-year deal. They also brought in Ben Johnson from the Detroit Lions. He is going to be their new head coach. Let's see how long this one lasts as well. It seems like they get a new coach every 2 to 3 years. So hopefully he does well. Kind of doing the same thing that Brian Schottenheimer did out in Dallas. He is no nonsense. If it's not up to his standards, he's not liking it. He's not going to deal with it, and he will stop practice. So Ben Johnson's bringing a new attitude into the Chicago Bears, and let's see how that continues to work out for the Bears. But I think this was overall a good move, a good hire. He coached that he ran that offense well for the Detroit Lions, and we'll see how it goes as a head coach. Sometimes great coordinators don't make great head coaches, but I think it is a bright future for Ben Johnson. They traded for Joe Thuney, offensive guard from the Kansas City Chiefs. They also traded for Jonah Jackson, another offensive guard from the Los Angeles Rams. For Joe Thuney, he had a 79.9 PFF rating, which ranked him at 12th out of 136 guards. And Jonah Jackson ranked at 67.5 PFF, which ranked him at 40 out of 136 guards. So, obviously, offensive line has obviously been a main issue for the Chicago Bears for years now. So they went ahead and made moves to address that. They end up also signing Dale Bingo, sorry for butchering that, from Indianapolis, and then again addressing the offensive line by signing Drew Delman, a center from Atlanta, and then they focus on their interior defense by getting Grady Jarrett, defensive tackle, from can't remember where they got him from. Wow, I forgot to write that down. But anyway, key losses. They lost Matt Pryor to the Philadelphia Eagles. He ranked 69.9 in the PFF, which put him at 31. So a little bit of a slip up for production, but nonetheless, he's going to the Eagles. Coleman Shelton, center, is going to the Los Angeles Rams. Tevin Jenkins, the offensive guard, is going to the Cleveland Browns. So clearly they lost 2 guards, but they replaced them with Joe Thuney, which, by the way, he's one of the best offensive guards in the entire league. So they definitely upgraded with that. And also Keenan Allen went ahead and they didn't re-sign him, and he actually visited the Chargers yesterday, so we'll see how that goes for Keenan Allen. In the draft, they went ahead and drafted Colston Loveland to add another weapon. Tight end from the University of Michigan, they added a weapon to help out Caleb Williams. Luther Burden III, a wide receiver from Missouri, so clearly they wanted to address getting some weapons, and then they went ahead and got Ozzie Trapelo, offensive lineman from Boston College. He's a very, very good offensive lineman. One of those guys that, again, played in the SEC, would have played in the Big Ten, probably goes in the first round. So they drafted him from Boston College. Shamar Turner, defensive tackle from Texas A&M. Ruben Hippolyte, linebacker from Maryland. Zai Frazier, defensive back from the University of Texas in San Antonio. I think they're the Roadrunners. Yeah, the Roadrunners. Luke Newman, offensive lineman from Michigan State University. And Kyle Managoa, running back from Rutgers. Key games for the Chicago Bears: the Dallas Cowboys, the New Orleans Saints, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Cleveland Browns. To me, I believe they split the division with Green Bay and Minnesota. I think they beat Las Vegas. I think they beat New Orleans, the New York Giants, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then they surprised everybody with that win, and the San Francisco 49ers. They went 5-12 last year. I give them a 7-10 record this year for a +2 win differential. I think Caleb Williams is going to grow and develop. And really, I thought Chicago was better than their 5-12 record last year. I really do believe that. They lost a lot of games last year due to, just either scoring too fast on the last minutes, missed field goals, players talking mess to the away to the home to the when they're the away team, talking mess to the opponent's fans just to blow a Hail Mary. Again, I don't think Caleb Williams was as bad as people made him out to be, but at the same time, I also think, like, you know, the way Jaden Daniels had a very good season and going to the NFC Championship game, it made Caleb Williams look bad at the exact same time. But at the exact same time, I think Caleb Williams did his job. I thought he played well. He's coming in with an offensive-minded head coach that can actually produce some offensive statistics. I think Caleb Williams is going to be the first Bears quarterback for over 4,000 yards. But I still think they're too inexperienced. I know they got DJ Moore, but I still think they're not a good enough team, especially playing in the division with Detroit, Minnesota, and Green Bay. I think 7-10 is a good record for them. Again, Caleb Williams, I think he's going to be one of those guys that shows improvement from last year to this year. So we'll see how that goes. All right, moving on to the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions, they weren't really adding a lot of key pieces. They did extend Kirby Joseph, a safety, for 4 years. They re-signed Levi, a defensive tackle, for 1 year. They went out and got Roy Lopez, an offensive tackle from the Arizona Cardinals. Put my notes here. And then they also signed DJ Smith from the New York Jets. Key losses: Darius Smith, edge rusher. They're going to be losing that edge rusher that was on the that actually really, I can't even say on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson, because he really didn't play with Aiden Hutchinson. I would have liked to see Za'Darius and Aiden Hutchinson play together, but nonetheless, they let him walk in free agency. From last time I checked, he is not signed with anybody else, so he's still out there. But I think that is the key loss for them. They could have did some wonders with Za'Darius and Aiden Hutchinson. Carlton Davis, defensive back, he went to the New England Patriots, and then Kevin Zeitler, offensive guard, a very good veteran offensive guard, a very good pass blocking offensive guard who got also great running lanes. He went over to Tennessee. In the draft, Talik Williams, defensive tackle from Ohio State University. Then they went ahead and drafted Tate Ratledge, offensive guard from the University of Georgia. Isaiah Tesla, wide receiver from Arkansas. Miles Frazier, offensive guard from LSU. Ahmed Hassanin, edge rusher from Boise State. Dan Jackson, safety from the University of Georgia. And Dominic Lovett, wide receiver also from the University of Georgia. So clearly they say, hey, you play for the University of Georgia, we're more than likely going to draft you. Key games for the Detroit Lions. Another premier team. Not used to saying that, but we've been saying it the last few years. Very good premier team. They're going ahead and going to sign their key games. Key games: Baltimore Ravens, the Cleveland Browns, the Cincinnati Bengals, Kansas City Chiefs, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Washington Commanders, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Los Angeles Rams. It's always good primetime TV when they play against the Rams. To me, I think they sweep the Chicago Bears. They split with Green Bay and Minnesota. I think they beat Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Tampa. I think they edge out Philadelphia. That's a 50-50 game. Tampa's another 50-50 game. Dallas, I think they beat the Rams. They somehow, some way, they always beat the Rams. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. They went 15-2 last year. They finished in the first place in the NFC. Had a disappointing exit, losing the divisional round against Washington. I think Washington can edge them out again. But 12-5 record. 12-5 record -3, which is not bad for them. It's not bad for them at all. It's hard to win 15 games. It's hard for them to go 15-2. And for them, I do think that they dip a little bit just because how tough their schedule is. But overall, I think they're going to be one of the premier NFC teams. And they could be, depending on how some of these games go, could be again fighting for a number 1 seed. But like I said in my NFC East video, I do think Philadelphia takes that number 1 seed. So we're going to flip the board and be right back soon. All right, now we're going to move on to our next team, which is the Green Bay Packers. Let's start off with them extending Zach Tom to a 4-year contract extension, offensive tackle. He had a 87.5 on the PFF, which ranked him at 4th best out of 140 tackles. They re-signed Isaiah McDuffie, a linebacker, for 2 years. They also signed Aaron Banks over from the San Francisco 49ers. They also got Isaiah Simmons, linebacker from the New York Giants, and Nate Hobbs, defensive back from the Las Vegas Raiders. Key losses for them, Jair Alexander. I know he only played 20 games out of the possible 51 games he could have played over the last few years, but he's still one of the better defensive backs in the league, and it's still a key loss for them. Like, his availability is a key loss because he wasn't available a lot, and then his injury status wasn't good because, like I said, the availability, and then on top of that, now he's not on the team no more. So to me, that's a key loss. They lost Eric Stokes, defensive back. They lost him to the Las Vegas Raiders. They lost Eric Wilson, a linebacker from Minnesota. Not from Minnesota, but they lost him to the Minnesota Vikings. And they lost Josh Myers, center. They lost him to the New York Jets. For the first time in 20-some-odd years, the Green Bay Packers went ahead and drafted Matt Golden, wide receiver from the University of Texas. Like I said in my NFC South video, I thought he was better than the wide receiver that the Carolina Panthers drafted. Clearly, Carolina saw something in Ted. They didn't see. Obviously, they passed on Matt Golden, but Matt Golden falls right into the Green Bay Packers, adding a key weapon for Jordan Love's development. Always a good thing. And they did something that a lot of Packers fans were waiting for them to do with Aaron Rodgers. It didn't happen. It didn't work out like that. So that's how we got this now. So now the next move was they were drafting Anthony Belton, offensive tackle from North Carolina State University. Savon Williams, wide receiver from TCU, again adding weapons and adding offensive line help to help Jordan Love. That is what they were all about. But then they went ahead and got an edge rusher, Baron Sorrell, edge rusher from the University of Texas. Colin Oliver, linebacker from Oklahoma State University. Warren Brinson, defensive tackle from the University of Georgia. Michael Robinson, defensive back from Tulane. If you guys watch All Grind Sports, which, by the way, go over there and please subscribe. We just finished our Madden's rating video, so that should be coming out soon. But for my All Grind Sport fans, Michael Robinson is the cousin or nephew, but I want to say cousin of JC. Anybody know JC? That's his family member. That's his cousin and nephew. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's his family member, defensive back from Tulane. He's over there. So congratulations to Michael Robinson. And from the nosebleeds, from All Ground Sports, go do your thing, bro. We cheering for you, bro. John Williams, offensive tackle from the University of Cincinnati. To me, the key games for the Green Bay Packers, the Dallas Cowboys, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Denver Broncos, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. That Pittsburgh Steelers game, very huge. First game, Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers. Why couldn't it be in Lambeau? Come on, schedulers, damn it! Put that shit in Lambeau Field. We got that shit at Heinz Field or whatever they call that stadium now. It's still at Heinz Field to me. But man, how much better that would have been if it was in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers returns to Green Bay to play his successor the same way that Brett Favre played against Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay against his successor. But nonetheless, we do at least get to see Green Bay go against Aaron Rodgers. We get to see Aaron Rodgers versus Green Bay. We get to see it. It's going to be must-see TV. Get your popcorn ready for that. Pittsburgh, I think it's their biggest game. That's not in their division, if you ask me. Biggest game that's not in their division, and that's also, not the Philadelphia Eagles. So, man, I'm excited for that game, but fuck, why could it have been at Lambeau Field, man? But anyway, I think they split the division. I think they surprised some people. Beat Washington, they beat Cleveland, they beat Dallas, they beat Cincinnati, they beat Arizona, they beat the Carolina Panthers and the New York Giants. They went 11-6 last year. They go 10-7. I think they're going to be a playoff team this year. -1 win, but hey, I think this is still a playoff team. Now we go on to our last team, the Minnesota Vikings. They had a very busy offseason, extending or re-signing players to their squad. Flip my notes here. So they extended Andrew Van Ginkel, edge rusher. He got re-signed there for a 2-year deal. They also re-signed a key piece for their defense as well. He's been there for a very long time as one of their cornerstones in their franchise. And Harrison Smith, they re-signed him, safety, for a 1-year deal. They extended Josh Oliver to a 3-year deal, tight end. They re-signed Aaron Jones, running back, for 2 years, former Green Bay Packer. They also re-signed Byron Murphy, defensive back. They re-signed him for 3 years. They then went ahead and got Jonathan Allen, defensive tackle from Washington. They got Eric Wilson, defensive back from the Green Bay Packers, aforementioned. And they got Ryan Kelly, center from the Indianapolis Colts. But they did lose a lot of key pieces. Let's start with Cam Bynum. They lost him to the Indianapolis Colts. Sam Darnold went ahead and signed a 3-year deal with the Seattle Seahawks. Clearly, the question for them, and clearly they went ahead and went with McCarthy. But the question was, Sam had this great year. He had this resurgence year. Do you sit back and keep Sam Darnold and have JJ learn under him, or have JJ go and be Sam Darnold be his backup, or do you let Sam Darnold walk? They let Sam Darnold walk. He goes to the Seattle Seahawks. Then they lost Jonathan Bullard, defensive tackle, to the New Orleans Saints. They lost Shaquille Griffin, their defensive back, from Seattle. They lost Stephon Gilmore, who's up there in age but has always been extremely productive, whether he's been on the outside or at the nickel position. So to me, that's just a huge loss. And they lost Cam Robinson, offensive tackle, to the Houston Texans. In their draft, they only drafted 5 players. They drafted Donovan Jackson, offensive lineman from Ohio State University. Ty Felton, wide receiver from Maryland. Tyron Ingram Dawkins, defensive lineman from the University of Georgia. Kobe King, linebacker from Penn State University. And Gavin Bartholomew, a tight end from the University of Pittsburgh. Key games for me for the Minnesota Vikings: the Atlanta Falcons, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Baltimore Ravens, the Seattle Seahawks. A nice return game for Sam Darnold to face against his former team where he had his best season. They also played the Washington Commanders and the Dallas Cowboys. That is always a big rivalry game for the Minnesota Vikings. To me, split the division. They beat Atlanta. They beat Cincinnati. They beat Pittsburgh. They beat the Chargers. They beat the Baltimore Ravens, the Dallas Cowboys, and the New York Giants. Also got them. They went 14-3 last year. They dipped down to 10-7, -4. I think the Vikings overachieved a little bit last year too. A lot of people wasn't expecting that. But here's what I'm trying to get at with the Vikings. I don't know what's going to happen at their quarterback position. We don't know what J.J. McCarthy can do. He tore his ACL last year in training camp, but he has weapons. He has Justin Jefferson, Josh Oliver, who's a solid pickup, and we know about Aaron Jones. He's a bit on the older side, but still a guy that can produce. He has a solid offensive line behind him, and a good defense, and a good head coach in Kevin O'Connell. So it's going to be interesting to see how Minnesota developed. Do I think they have a season like they did last year? No. A lot of people didn't expect them to have the season that they had last year, especially when JJ went down and Sam Darnold was their quarterback. A lot of people laughed at that. A lot of people did not take that serious. So now that JJ is here and the organization is ready to put their faith in the former first-round pick, who knows what's going to happen? I like JJ in college, but it's unproven, and he's coming off a torn ACL. What is that confidence like? Is it a different confidence because it didn't happen in actual play? Who knows? But I think this team is strong enough to be a contender to make the playoffs and be that third NFC North team to make the playoffs. I got Detroit going to the playoffs. I got the Green Bay Packers going to the playoffs. I got the Minnesota Vikings going to the playoffs. 10-7, -4. That's not bad, especially considering the fact that, hey, Sam Darnold might have been for 1 year, but we're basing off of last year. That's a loss for them. That's a huge loss for them. He played excellent in that season. He played excellent in that system. And I know that, they lost the game against Detroit. They lost both games to Detroit. And I know they had a dud against the Rams in the playoffs. And yes, the end of the season kind of didn't go the way they expected it. But again, 14-3 last year. 14-3 last year. So I don't know how that goes into this year. New quarterback, trying to learn this system, coming off a torn ACL. They're not going to call him a rookie, but he's a rookie. He's a rookie. He's a rookie. Sat on the sidelines and just watched. He's a rookie. So we'll see how that goes. How much did he learn behind Sam Darnold? How much did he grow away from the football field? The film studying, the practices, how to run the offense, his favorite routes, commanding the huddle. What did he learn that year that he sat behind Sam Darnold? Time will tell. Time will tell. But I think they're a good enough team for them to go 10-7 and to make the playoffs. So that is the NFC North. That's 6 divisions. 6 divisions. 6 divisions. We got 2 more to go. 2 more. So the last 2 is the NFC West and the AFC West. And like I said, working on with JC. Didn't really say who I was working with, but JC, he should be getting on for the NFC West. So we won't have a whiteboard for the NFC West. And the AFC West is looking like we're going to do that solo dolo. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. This is Tyrell from the Nosebleeds saying goodnight and signing off.